You guys like my new setup? It's giving Carol. Carol! You guys, I did it. I watched every single thing nominated for the 95th Oscars. I'm so hyped! This is something I've wanted to do for the longest time, and I finally did it. We're setting goals, we're reaching them, babes. We're doing it. This video that you're about to embark on is a collection of my thoughts on everything that's nominated, from the shorts to sound design to editing to best picture. It's all of it, and I can't wait for you to watch. This is also the debut video of my channel, The Critics Darling, and I hope you like it. I put a lot of work and effort into this video, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I had a lot of fun watching all of the Oscar nominated stuff too, so without further ado, enjoy! How does this angle look? Does it convey shortness? I hope so, because we're talking about the shorts. In the shorts, there are 3 categories: live action, animated, and documentary. First up, the live action. Within the live action nominations, we have An Irish Goodbye, a story about a man with Down syndrome and his estranged brother after their mother's untimely passing and they try to fulfill her bucket list. Ivalu, a story about a sister looking for her missing sister. Les Pupilles, I think I said that right, which is a nice, cheeky coming-of-age tale with the message of live fast, die young, bad girls eat the cake. Night Ride, about a woman who steals a tram. And The Red Suitcase, a story about a 16-year-old teenager who flies to Luxembourg to meet her arranged husband, and it's obvious she doesn't want to do that. I feel like I talked a little bit more about The Red Suitcase because it's the one I kind of hope wins. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. An Irish Goodbye was very sweet, heartfelt, and touching. Ivalu was very moving. Les Pupilles, again, live fast, die young, eat the cake. And Night Ride was just a great little short about treating other people with kindness. I only just now realized I still had my headphones in, but what are you gonna do? Next up in the shorts category are the animated shorts. First up is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, an tale of an unlikely friendship between a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse as they travel together to help the boy find his way home. This is actually a book. I picked up this book at Costco on a whim because I liked the way it looked, but once I actually read the contents of the book, stole my heart. Just good, wholesome, life-affirming stuff. We also have The Flying Sailor, which is based on the Halifax explosion? The story of the 1917 explosion in Halifax, which was the largest accidental explosion in history. The story is about one of the survivors of that who was blown 4 kilometers away and was wearing nothing but his boots. And I mean nothing. Next is The Ice Merchants, which is a story about a father and son, and every day they leap off this mountain to go sell ice, and just a very sweet father-son tale of their weird choice of living. My Year of Dicks, which is my personal favorite, the story of a 15-year-old who is stubbornly determined to lose her virginity, and An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake and I Think I Believe It, which is a fun meta animation, stop motion, but one of the stop motion characters is aware they are in a stop motion because an ostrich tells them. I personally really want My Year of Dicks to win just because the story itself really resonated with me. Not that I was a 15-year-old girl determined to lose my virginity, but as somebody who was a 15-year-old girl, super relatable. What I actually really hope wins is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the book. I think it's really sweet. The artwork is phenomenal and just a really cute story. Oh, hello. Pardon the sound in here. It's an empty bathroom. You're probably here to talk about makeup and hairstyling. Let's do it. The first nominee is All Quiet on the Western Front. Again, a war movie. We get it. Your makeup is gonna be dirty and grimy. Then we have The Batman, which actually, cool. Robert Pattinson's eye makeup was pretty smoky, and Zoe Kravitz's wigs, fantastic. I guess we do have to consider Colin Farrell's fat suit. I guess this is the year of fat suits. Also nominated, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Of course it would be. It's beautiful. Have you seen it? Everything in it is beautiful. We also have Elvis, which, okay. His hair was pretty fly. We had to put a lot of effort into that coif. And lastly, The Whale. Again, Brendan Fraser in a fat suit. That's really all there is to it. For this category, this is a really good one. Probably Black Panther? I'm gonna go with Black Panther. I think that one deserves to win. And now, if you'll excuse me, I need to finish my Batman-inspired makeup. Beautiful. And now for the categories I call the Would You Look at That's. This section has the categories such as cinematography, production design, editing, and visual effects. So, would you look at that? The first category I'm going to talk about, cinematography, features All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardot, A False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. All Quiet on the Western Front is, of course, a war movie, and war movies tend to do pretty well when it comes to cinematography, so I'm just going to skip right on past that. Bardot, A False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths is directed by this director, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. It's the same director who did Birdman and The Revenant, so I think he did those two and went, you know what, let's do a silly one. This movie is about a renowned Mexican journalist who receives an international award and reflects upon his life, and it's very existential. Did I watch it on 1.5 speed on Netflix? Yeah. But was I visually entertained the whole time? Absolutely, because the man knows what he's doing. Elvis is directed by Baz Luhrmann, and if you've seen a Baz Luhrmann movie before, you kind of know he's all about the spectacle and the constant movement. At one point in Elvis, I think it's within the first 20 minutes, I said, Baz, you gotta slow down, my man. Empire of Light is about Olivia Colman working at a movie theater in the 80s, and there's racism. If anything, this movie should have been nominated for Best Production Design, and that's it. Tar, I'll talk about a little bit later. If I were to award Best Cinematography, I would probably give it to Bardot, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. And now, Production Design. Nominated for Best Production Design are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. All Quiet on the Western Front, again, you're a war movie. Your production design's gonna be good. You did it! Avatar, The Way of Water, what production design? It's on a green screen. Babylon, I don't know. Babylon is Damien Chazelle's love letter to Hollywood or whatever. It was so long, you guys. But can't ignore the fantastic set pieces. You can't ignore the gigantic dance numbers. You can't ignore the attention to detail. The man's got it. Elvis, same kind of thing. Pretty accurately reflects the era and the history of Elvis and The Fabelmans. Yeah, that's a house in the 60s. I'm going to give this one to Babylon because, oh, come on. Look at this. Look at that. That's incredible. For Best Editing, we've got, again, All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardot, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. This one's a tough one. Actually, no, it's not. I'm going to give it to Bardot. Not only do they play around, visually with the editing, but there's a lot of sound editing that's also taken into consideration that really makes the movie. I gotta give it to Bardot. And lastly, Best Visual Effects. We've got, again, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun Maverick. Batman, if you don't know, it's Batman's second year being a detective and fighting crime. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, about Wakanda after King T'Challa's death, but also we got an introduction of this new Namor and what's all that about. And then Top Gun Maverick, sequel to Top Gun, he's gunning again. Visual effects. It brings me no pleasure to tell you, we can all just guess James Cameron's going to get this one for Avatar. Good job. Get out of here, James Cameron. Now we're going to move on to a category I call, you hear that? And it's everything to do with sound. The first category is Best Sound. Our nominations are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun Maverick. Personally, this one's one of those categories where I'm like, I don't know, it all sounded pretty good. However, I'm kind of leaning towards The Batman. I think it had some pretty good sound mixing. Elvis was good. Elvis was a lot, however. So I think it does have that kind of technical edge to it.
What?
The next category is Best Original Score, which is the overall soundtrack for the whole movie. Our nominations are All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon. The Banshees of Inisherin. Everything Everywhere All at Once. And The Fabelmans. The Fabelmans has Spielberg's best friend John Williams on board, whereas Babylon has Josh Hurwitz, who has worked with Damien Chazelle on previous movies like La La Land. This one's also kind of tough because, and I'll say this, I'm kind of hoping All Quiet on the Western Front wins. I wasn't super interested in watching All Quiet on the Western Front, but once I started it, I was like, okay, yeah, this movie's pretty good. And then I heard the score. It blew me away. It's a modern score for a movie about World War I, which I kind of like. So I have to give this one to All Quiet on the Western Front. The last You Heard That category is Best Original Song, and this is what most people turn into the Oscars for, I think. That's a fact I made up. The nominations include Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Natu Natu from RRR, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's a clear winner, in my opinion. And if it doesn't win, I'm gonna riot. But let's talk about the other songs first. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman is written by Diane Warren, who is an Oscars darling. When I tell you, this is the worst song I've ever heard in my whole life.
Hands up, yeah. Give yourself some applause, you deserve it.
What is that?
Realize how far you've come.
The thing about Tell It Like a Woman is it's a collection of 8 short stories, all written and directed by women, and it's probably the worst movie I've ever seen. Honestly, Tell It Like a Woman is great for equality because it just goes to show women can do bad things too. Then we have Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick. Lady Gaga, come on. Oscars darling Lady Gaga. It feels like it belongs in a Top Gun movie, you know? Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Keep me safe, safe and sound. Lift me up, hold me down.
Rihanna. How could you not like Rihanna? This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
This is a life.
Every possibility
From destiny.
I choose you and you choose me.
You got David Byrne in there and Mitski. It's just not memorable, in my opinion. Natu Natu, the clear runaway winner of this category. It's the vibe and the energy that the song brings out in you.
Chore nacho, 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 veer nacho. Nacho, 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 yara nacho. Nacho, 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 kachi Kerry jaisa khatta nacho. Nacho, 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 bichu kaata lage aisa nacho.
And the dance? Don't ask me to do it. I will break my knees. My choice for this category? Not to. If for whatever reason that does not win, I say we just close the Oscars and go home. Okay, this is crazy. I'm going to try to... Oh, no! Sucked into a bagel. Welcome to your costume fitting. We're talking about best costumes. Best costumes is one of my favorite categories because I don't know if you know this. You can't really tell based on this segment's outfit, but love to dress up. So let's talk about the costume nominees. First up, we have Babylon, which is, set in the 1920s. Love letter to Hollywood type movie. So the costumes are pretty fantastic, honestly. Also nominated is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Here's the thing. Beautiful, normal clothes. The suits and the superhero outfits in this one, personally didn't really like. All the other normal civvy outfits, loved those. Also nominated is Elvis, which I don't know if you saw those jumpsuits, but give the Bedazzler its own Oscar, you know what I'm saying? Also nominated is Everything Everywhere All at Once, and so many outfits, like a bajillion different outfits. An award for that alone, for coordinating a bajillion different outfits. And lastly, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Now, I don't think Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris should win. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once should win. But the feelings I felt while watching Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris were so intense. Here's actual footage of me as I was watching Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. The thing about Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris is it is extremely relatable. I, too, have seen a dress and fallen in love and would have done anything to get it. Actually, hold on. Shout out to Fashion Brand Company for this lovely number. Give them an Oscar. And now for the section of categories I call the featurings. These movies are the features. So best animated feature, best international feature, and best documentary feature. Let's start with the best animated feature. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio takes place in fascist Italy. I think we all know the story of Pinocchio. It was pretty good. Plus you got Guillermo del Toro. You can't really go wrong with him. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Where do I begin with this movie? My favorite memory of this movie is when I sat down in the theater. There was a lot of youths in the crowd, and the A24 logo popped up, and the kid next to me went, I love A24 movies. And I went, me too, man. Me too. Marcel is this little 1-inch shell with little tennis shoes and a googly eye, and he becomes the subject of this guy's documentary while he's staying at this Airbnb where Marcel and his grandmother live. Ultimately, Marcel wants to find the rest of his family, and the movie is about that, and I ugly cried a lot. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a sequel to Puss in Boots and part of the Shrek-averse. Puss in Boots has discovered that his passion for adventure has taken its toll, and he's used up all 8 of his 9 lives. And the villain of this movie is the concept of death. Kind of highbrow for a kid's movie, but when I tell you, we finished this movie, my husband messaged his friends and said, I regret to inform you I absolutely love this movie, and I insist you watch it with your kids. The Sea Beast is about a young girl who stows away on a pirate ship. Well, not a pirate ship, but the purpose of the ship is they are hunting the sea beasts. And the ultimate moral of the story is maybe people were the beasts the whole time. Only watch this movie if you like cartoon characters. This guy, voiced by Carl Urban. So what am I supposed to do? And Turning Red. Turning Red is about a 13-year-old girl who she's going through puberty, and twist, if she feels enough rage and emotion, she turns into a red panda. Turning Red is a Pixar movie, so of all of the animated movies that are nominated, if I had to pick, I'm really rooting. Boy, am I rooting for Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This movie, it is partially live action as well, but it's also partially animated. And it's just, if you don't watch it and you don't feel something, if for whatever reason Marcel the Shell with Shoes On doesn't win, I'm kind rooting for either the Sea Beast or Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots was really good, you guys. Up next in the featurings category, we have Best Documentary Feature. I'm trying for a Ken Burns. Is it working? I don't think it's working. Do I even know what Ken Burns sounds like? First up, we have a movie called All That Breathes. It's about a family, and it's set against the backdrop of New Delhi, and this family rescues birds, kites in particular. The story of them rescuing these birds amongst the growing terrible pollution in New Delhi and the violence. Pretty good, heartwarming story, I have to say. I'm a sucker for anything to do with animal rescue, so. Next is a movie called All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. This is a movie about the downfall of the Sackler family, the pharmaceutical dynasty who's responsible for the opioid epidemic. It was good. I have a lot of empathy for people struggling with opioid addiction. Wasn't really my thing. Fire of Love is a documentary about two volcanologists who are just a couple of science nerds in love, and they died doing what they love, researching volcanoes. And the documentary is just about that. A House Made of Splinters is a documentary set in Ukraine following a temporary house for abandoned children. Kind of a heartbreaking documentary to watch because you follow the different stories of these children as some of them get to go into foster homes, some of them have to go into orphanages, and some of them just want to reunite with their own family so bad, but their own family can't take care of them. And this was filmed before the war, so already sad. And Navalny, which is the story of the lone political challenger to Putin who survived an assassination attempt by the Kremlin and documented the entire thing. And he worked with people who work on the dark web as data brokers, and they tracked down the people responsible and outed them. Kind of a really fascinating documentary. And because the guy Navalny started out as a YouTuber, he's already got a really engaging personality. This documentary held my attention the whole time. Of all the nominations, kind of hoping Navalny wins, at least just because of, we don't like Putin. Lastly, we have the Best International Features, starting with All Quiet on the Western Front. I'll talk about that later. Then we have Argentina 1985, which is based on the true story of the trial surrounding the 1985 trial of Junitas, which prosecuted the ringleaders of Argentina's last civil military dictatorship. This movie was so fascinating because I am American, so I don't really pay attention to what else happens outside America. But this true story of these prosecutors who, first of all, had to hire all of the young, brand new prosecutors because the older prosecutors wouldn't work on the case as they try to, bring justice to the victims who were tortured by this civil military dictatorship. Very tense, very entertaining. I quite enjoyed it, actually. I'm surprised. Close is the story of two 13-year-old boys, Leo and Remy, who, once they start the new school year, start to drift apart because they are incredibly close and their relationship gets questioned by other kids. And because of that and toxic masculinity and fear of being different, they distance themselves and a tragic event occurs. And, the story is incredibly sad. I definitely ugly cried. That's all I really have to say about it. Yeoh. Where to start with Yeoh? Yeoh is a story of a donkey, okay? The donkey goes through many adventures. Not all of them are great. Some of them are very sad. The donkey movie is surprisingly metal. Some pretty metal sequences in the donkey movie, okay? It's one of those movies where at the end it definitely did make me go, man, should I be vegetarian? And then the movie that I think should win, The Quiet Girl. The Quiet Girl is about a neglected girl in an Irish family who she's like one of, 5 or 6 kids. And she's sent away to go live with one of the parents' distant cousins. And she blossoms in their care. She learns what love is because her current family is pretty neglectful and abusive, but she absolutely thrives under the care of this couple. And this couple also grows because they have suffered their own tragedy, and by caring for this girl, they have grown closer together as a couple. They all grow together as a familial unit. This movie wrecked me. Absolutely destroyed me. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I hope this one wins. I hope The Quiet Girl wins. What's that? My husband's missing? Well, I wouldn't know anything about that. Did you like my acting? Because that's what we're talking about. The actors. I am going to be keeping the robe on. I feel confident in it. First up, let's talk about the best supporting actors. We have Brendan Gleeson, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry, Causeway, Judd Hirsch, The Fabelmans, and Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. briefly, because I am going to talk about the other movies. Causeway is the story of an injured war vet, Jennifer Lawrence, who returns home to New Orleans and makes a friend in Brian Tyree Henry. And he absolutely crushes it in this role. This category for me is a no-brainer. Waymond. We need more people like Waymond in our lives. And now, the supporting actresses. Angela Bassett, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Hong Chau, The Whale. Kerry Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Stephanie Hsu, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm personally rooting for Stephanie Hsu. I want her to win it so bad. She was so good. I'd be willing to settle for Jamie Lee Curtis, but I feel bad saying I would settle for Jamie Lee Curtis. Let's talk about the men, shall we? Everybody always does. For Best Actor, we have Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser, The Whale, Paul Mescal, Aftersun, and Bill Nighy, Living. I gotta talk about The Whale and Aftersun because they're not nominated for Best Picture. Aftersun is a story about a daughter who documents a trip with her father. It's apparent that she doesn't live with her father. She only visits him maybe once a year. This movie is just that story of this one trip. If there's anything about this Oscars you need to know, it's all about the daddy issues. The Whale is adapted from a play where everyone is mean, and Brendan Fraser wears a fat suit, and that's it. He plays like an English professor, and everyone is mean, but he's not. And that's the movie. I need you guys to understand, I am very, very, very much on team Brendan Fraser's comeback. I love this for him. I'm rooting for him. However, I don't think he should win the Oscar for this. It's just, everyone was so mean, and he was nice and in a fat suit. Personally, I think it should go to Austin Butler for Elvis, and I kind of think he's gonna get it. Now, let's talk about the real stars of the show, the Best Actresses, starring Cate Blanchett in Tar, Ana de Armas, Blonde, Andrea Riseborough, To Leslie, Michelle Williams, The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now let me tell you about Blonde and To Leslie. Blonde is a fictional, much emphasis on fictional telling of Marilyn Monroe's life, and it's gross. I'm not gonna lie to you, I watched every single movie, and this one I made it about 10 minutes in, and I turned it off. I'm counting it though. You can't take that away from me. And To Leslie is the story of a woman who wins the lottery but immediately blows it all on alcohol and living just a rough life. And it's about her trying to build herself back up and restore her reputation. If, for whatever reason, Michelle Yeoh does not win this one, give it to Andrea. She did a great job. I loved her performance in it. But I think we can all agree it's going to Michelle Yeoh. I was hoping to have a director's chair, but because I work on a procrastinator's timeline. Wow, the lighting is bad. Note to self, invest in lighting. 'Cause it's dark in here. Welcome to Director's Chat. I'm not calling it Director's Chat, but we're here to talk about the directors that are nominated for the Oscars this year. 5 directors nominated, as there are every year. Here's the thing. Everything that's nominated for Best Original Screenplay is also nominated for Best Director. So I'm just going to cover both of them right here. What I'm going to do is not only am I going to tell you who's nominated, but I'm just going to list off their filmography and some other notable films that they've done so you can go, oh yeah. Okay, I see it. First up, Martin McDonagh, The Banshees of Inisherin. Martin McDonagh is an English writer-director who does a lot of Irish writing and directing, who also wrote and directed other such great films as In Bruges, 7 Psychopaths, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and is dating Phoebe Waller-Bridge? Huh? You know what? I'm happy for them. Just a couple of extremely talented writers doing extremely talented writer stuff. Next up, Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by Daniels. Daniels is a team of 2 people, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. And they both also wrote the screenplay. These 2 have done other phenomenal works such as Swiss Army Man and the Turn Down for What music video. And that's about it. And now they're nominated for an Oscar, living the dream. Next in the nominees is our dear friend Steven Spielberg, who, Spielberg actually co-wrote The Fabelmans with Tony Kushner, who actually did the screenplay for West Side Story, which Spielberg directed. So just a couple of buddies, Next up in our nominee list is Todd Field, who wrote and directed Tar, which ironically we haven't seen him really do anything since 2006 when he wrote and directed a movie called Little Children. So honestly, good for this guy. Am I right? Not really doing anything since 2006, and then 2022 rolls around and he gets an Oscar nom for Best Original Screenplay and Best Director and Best Picture. We'll talk about that later. Dang, dude. And lastly, we have Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness, who, upon first glance, I thought was, what's his name? Oh my God, what is this guy's name? From the Hulk stuff and Reservoir Dogs. Tim Roth, you guys. Triangle of Sadness, both written and directed by Ruben Östlund. What else has he done? The Square? Downhill, which was that skiing movie. You know what? You don't care about this. Since we're here, I think I'm just going to talk about the best adapted screenplays too. First up, we have, again, All Quiet on the Western Front, which was adapted from a novel from 1929, same name, but also adapted from a movie that's also won Best Picture in the past. So, I'm not passing any judgments. I'm just saying maybe it doesn't need to win Best Picture. Next up, we have Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Did you know? I learned this year. It's technically an adapted screenplay if it's a sequel, because it's being adapted from a previous work. Anyway, written and directed by Rian Johnson. I love you. Living is a film... The end. No, Living is a film starring Bill Nighy, and honestly, I don't know who this movie was for, because the movie itself is about a man who's worked in government essentially his whole life, and then he receives a terminal diagnosis and then decides he wants to live. So he goes to a couple of bars and finally approves a playground and makes sure the playground gets built. Anyway, it's adapted from a movie called Ikiru, which also was adapted from a book, The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. Man, I hope I said all those words right. And I don't know. I didn't like it, okay? And I'm allowed to not like things. Next up is Top Gun Maverick, Return of the Mav. And again, this is a sequel, so adapted from previous characters. Top Gun Mav, Return of the Mav has 5 people who worked on it. We have story by Peter Craig and Justin Marks, and then screenplay by Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, and Christopher McQuarrie. And lastly, we have Women Talking, written and directed by Sarah Polley, and yet no nomination for her for Best Director. What the heck? We don't need it. It's a dark time anyway. Women Talking is based on a 2018 novel written by Miriam Tows? But it's actually based on a true story that happened in Bolivia. So, just goes to show, women do be talking. I'm sorry. For Best Director, I'm hoping Daniels wins, because I hope Everything Everywhere All at Once kind of wins everything. For Best Original Screenplay, also torn, because I really want Daniels to win everything. However, I am a sucker for everything Martin McDonagh does, and I just really loved Banshees of Inisherin. Just some really good writing there, in my opinion. For Best Adapted Screenplay, hoping for Glass Onion, because I'm a simp for Rian Johnson. But if for whatever reason Glass Onion doesn't win, Women Talking, because I want Women Talking to win literally anything. The time has come. You guys, the time has come. We're talking about the best picture of them all of 2023. I'm kind of offended Moonfall isn't on the list, but we can move on from that.
What hockey heard you the first time?
All Quiet on the Western Front. Based on the 1928 novel of the same name, This wartime epic follows a young German boy whose idealistic dreams of heroics are shattered when he enlists in the army with his friends during World War I and is exposed to the true horrors of battle while he does his best to survive. Avatar: The Way of Water. In a sequel that was over a decade in the making, we see Jake Sully as he now lives with the Na'vi on Pandora, raising his family with Neytiri. However, their peaceful lives are once again interrupted when humans arrive with plans to colonize Pandora as Earth is dying. The Banshees of Inisherin. This film follows two best friends on a remote island in Ireland whose lives are thrown into odd turmoil when one of them abruptly ends their years-long relationship without warning or reason. Everything Everywhere All at Once. While being audited by the IRS for her taxes, a woman discovers she can access the multiverse, and that she may also be the only hope against a looming threat to every reality. Elvis. The life story of Elvis Presley as seen through the complicated relationship with his enigmatic manager, Colonel Tom Parker. The Fabelmans. A coming-of-age story following a young, aspiring filmmaker as he attempts to use the medium of movie making to better understand the chaos around him. Tar. This film follows the rise and downfall of a fictional pianist, ethnomusicologist, and composer. Top Gun: Maverick. Maverick returns to coach a new group of recruits, including the son of his deceased best friend, to the Top Gun program for a dangerous mission. Triangle of Sadness. This satirical black comedy follows a cruise ship for the mega-rich that sinks, leaving a group of survivors stranded on an island to fend for themselves. Women Talking. Based on a true story involving events that occurred in the Manitoba colony in Bolivia, the film follows a group of religious women whose faith is shaken after reports of a series of sexual assaults within their small colony. Of all of these amazing movies that have been nominated, except you, Avatar: The Way of Water, I really hope Everything Everywhere All at Once takes it home. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be so mad. And I kinda don't think it's going to. I kinda think Elvis is gonna walk away with Best Picture, which is fine, I guess. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's like the best movie of all time. I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you thought of the Oscars in the comments, or this show in particular, but only if you have nice things to say. Only if you have nice things to say. And like and subscribe and smash the things, and I'll see you in the next one.